All right, welcome back, everybody, to Real Talk Realty Podcast, where we put the real in real estate. You are with your host, JD.
And Gabby.
And Louie Namick.
And we have a very, very special guest on with us today who is near and dear to our hearts over here at the Rob Crop team. He's actually been with the Rob Crop team for a very long time, and now he's got his hands in a little bit of everything. He is the owner also of Key City Contractors and Key City Property Management. And he plays, and his business play, a major role in our lives as far as helping assist our investor clients in maintaining and keeping their properties getting paid and money flowing through everybody's hands. So we're super excited to have him on here with us, and he's got a lot to share. So let's get started with our friend, Joe Lawman.
I appreciate the invite.
And he brought along with him today a very extravagant looking acai bowl.
Oh, yeah. You guys got to check it out. Blendable. They're new in Frederick. They have a food truck on Baker Park. So definitely recommend.
And you said they're like based out of Ellicott City, I think, or something?
Pasadena.
Pasadena?
Yeah,
okay.
so they have a store in Pasadena, and they are to die for.
That looks delicious, actually.
It is. I met the owner on Baker Park the other day, and he was like, yeah, we just started this food truck. I'm hoping pretty soon they're going to come and get a brick and mortar store in downtown Frederick.
That would be amazing.
Because there's nobody that does it. So
Joe came here with not an extra spoon and then asked me if I'd like to have some. And then I spent 5 minutes before the podcast looking around for a spoon and could not find one. So,
and I'm terrified of germs, so I'm definitely not sharing. I'll give you a cup later. Wow.
That's good.
Thank God.
So,
Starting that off.
But no, thanks for coming on here, Joe. We've had a lot of good guests over the last couple of weeks, and I was sitting there brainstorming on who I'd like to get on here, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know who would just be like a perfect fit for a podcast? Joe Lawman. And before we even started pressing record here, we had to get some laughs out of our system because that's just the type of guy that Joe is. Had us in here laughing our butts off. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about your beginning in the real estate world. Where did you even start?
I had to be 21, and I met Rob over in Urbana, and we were doing just residential sales, just simple stuff, and I got into, selling condos, all that, and then eventually we set our eyes, and we were like, all right, like multifamily properties. This was 2018, we started selling multifamilies, so like duplexes, triplexes, all that. And we're referring out property management to everyone. And then we started getting phone calls like, hey, who you referred me to is not cutting the mustard. It's really bad over here. So what can you guys do to help me or get me out of this deal, right? So Rob and I sat there and we're like, well, might as well start a company that services our clients fully. And that's what we did. So Key City Property Management started in 2019. We've been going ever since. So it's been very advantageous. And then the construction company started 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and that's just been fully integrated to Key City Property Management, which has just been massive.
Well, it's been advantageous to your partners here.
Yeah,
I had a customer who purchased a townhouse over here in D.R. Horton, Ren Quarter, and 2 years or a year later, she's off to Spain because she had a job change.
Right.
So, hey, Louie, do you have anybody that can rent my townhouse and manage it? Absolutely. We called Joe and got her townhouse rented.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, and Joe's involvement in our business.
Did you see what he just did?
What did he do?
I almost knocked everything over.
He said,
oh, shit.
No, and then he put this coffee, like it says Key City, so he like casually tried
That's
to,
savage.
Like,
See,
it's my marketing.
That is his marketing. No, which is great because Joe's involvement in all of our business and him as a partner with us is really what enables us to be what's considered a one-stop shop in all your real estate needs, right? Because if you're a real estate investor and let's say you're either beginning or you're experienced and you want to pass a portfolio off, or if you are just now starting to begin one, that's a great point. We can just say, hey, listen, after you help, one of us can help you purchase this property, and then we're going to pass you off over to Joe and let him help you manage it. And he's got a great team over there with him. It's not just him. He's got some great talent over there that are helping having him facilitate and everything, which is fantastic. But Joe in himself, he has a wonderful mind when it comes to being able to look at a property and be able to say, hey, this is going to be a good deal or a bad deal. So oftentimes, when I see a property that I think could be a good fit with one of my clients or whatever, I'll go to Joe just to get a second opinion, because he's able to do some things and calculate some things and make a determination on whether it's a good deal or not.
How do you do that?
So actually, me and my cousin, shout out Danny, we went ahead and we built a software which basically takes in 164 data points from any real estate transaction, right? So exit strategies, starting strategies, your debt coverage ratio, everything is calculated in this one spreadsheet that we designed. And essentially it's the foolproof way to go about purchasing real estate. I mean, everyone obviously has like their ambitious goals, which is like get a corner lot, get something nice in the city, get this, but we really focus on performance,
right?
So we want to make sure that it's not just a dream of a product that you're purchasing.
Well, it really takes the emotional part out of it. You're just looking at straight numbers. Is this good? Is this not good?
And that's
going
why
to work or is not going to work.
I was a shitty real estate agent. That's why I was. Is I just could. Everyone was like, everyone was like, can you think about the yard and all the kids? And I'm like, no, I can, but like, what's the return on this? Like, what do you-
And you had one of the, now didn't you set like a record with Keller Williams as far as
I did.
in your commercial side of things?
Yeah, so I set the record for the highest sales price on a commercial sale, and that was one of the apartment buildings that I syndicated in.
That was last year, right?
That was 3 years ago now.
Oh, 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
I
Man,
know.
time flies.
My hairline is too.
So how much was it?
That was all in 8.5.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So yeah,
You
so,
beat me.
Yeah.
So that was 8.5 million, and then
on a commercial.
yeah, on a commercial property, and then it's an apartment building,
Yeah.
and now that's doing over $1 million gross a year now.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I'm very very happy with that deal.
So you identified that deal? You went and found that deal?
Yeah, that's like, I've always hated those Instagram and Facebook stories where it's like, yeah, I just got out there and I grind, I did it. And it's like, then you do it and you're like, oh, now I got to sound like one of those guys. Like I showed up to the owner's office. It was a partnership between 3 guys, and I showed up to one of their offices. It wasn't listed for sale. I just saw that they were moving forward on a development aspect. And all the guys were about like 65, and I was like, okay, this might be the time that these guys might want to step out of this project.
Right.
And I went and I cold called, knocked on his door, walked in, and I guess I wooed them, and they were just like, all right, yeah, we'll sell it to you. So the initial sales price that they wanted was a lot higher than we paid. So I was very happy with that. I saved us about $1.5 million on that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that goes down to having a.
So they wanted like 10.
They wanted a lot.
Yeah.
So it all goes down to having like a very important, very skilled inspection team, having skilled lawyers on the back end. So making sure that what you're purchasing it for makes sense, and there's the covenants on the property were set to expire, and that's what made it such a low rental area. And then the moment we purchased it, we took it out of a FHA roll-up loan, which gave us the ability to rent it for whatever market price we wanted at that point. And it's been very advantageous.
So how many total doors is that property?
It's 53, which is not a lot, but when you break it down to it's in downtown Frederick, it's on Baker Park, it becomes like, oh my God, 53 perfect condos.
Right.
Which
That's awesome.
we hold all ownership in. And currently we're looking at 3 more deals. So
Nice.
Did you do any major renovations to the building?
we did a crap load of major renovations. So I think we spent total $2.5 million afterwards. So did $2.5 million on that. And then we stepped in, we finished the project. Key City Contractors finished out the renovations on those buildings. And we took rent from $923 average to right now our average is $1,720.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate for being at the right place, right time. And that's another stupid thing to say.
Yeah. Hey, but also you were Joe Lawman.
Yeah, well, that's true. So it's preparation and luck.
Yeah.
When they meet, that's opportunity, you know. So I fell into it pretty haphazardly.
So wait, that's yours or Key Cities?
Well,
I guess
I'm a
Partner
Yeah.
in it. Yeah. So I was blessed enough to become a partner in it, and that was my first major commercial deal, and that was at 26.
That's so awesome.
Because oftentimes, if you're the person who can bring a deal to the table,
Yeah.
you also, that's your
Yeah.
leverage, right? You get in and you're involved on that deal, especially if you can assemble the right team of partners to come together and make it all happen, then you're invaluable. I mean, you're up there.
Yeah,
So,
it's very important though to have the right people in the right places.
Yep.
You can't do it on your own. You have to have the right team.
Yeah.
So that GP team's made up of 4 people, 4 outstanding people, engineers, engineers, builders, and accountants that make it all possible. And again, I'm just the footwork. So
Now, Joe, are you local? Have you been born and raised Frederick or?
no, I was born in South Boston.
Okay.
Yeah, so
You look like a Boston boy.
that doesn't
That explains
kind of
everything.
acts like-
That
More-
explains everything.
More so acts like a Boston boy.
Yeah, no. But I ditched the accent when I was 12.
How'd you do that?
I'm wicked smart. I decided to sell it. No, it was my mom still has it super bad.
Yeah.
And then like every time she meets a new person, she'll make sure that they know that she is potentially English.
So you came from Boston, and then when did you get to this area?
I got moved here when I was 13. So pretty much, yeah, I am Frederick raised, right? And it's been nothing but fun. I went from potentially being a car mechanic in Boston to now I'm doing actual business here in Maryland, and I love it. I mean, I know that going to high school, I went to high school at Urbana, and a ton of my, close friends, associates, they all wanted to get out of hometown. They were like, oh, I want to flee,
Urbana's so bad, I gotta get out of here.
To heck with this area.
Right.
And I'm like, you guys gave up on a bread and butter situation.
Right.
The fact that Maryland is, a massive economy, and the fact that Frederick is the second largest city in
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can still walk down the street, and I love doing this. I'm blessed to have a job in downtown Frederick where
Me too.
you guys, we're all blessed.
Yeah.
And you get to just take a walk and then nod at everyone that you know, and like that doesn't happen in a city.
Right.
No.
We're very fortuitous.
Right.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked that, though, is because it's always been, I thought it was so interesting how many people you know in so many different positions. Like, it's like Joe's one of those guys where it's like, oh, I need a guy who is very, he makes a very specific wooden table from this certain time frame, and it's like, what? And then you call Joe, and he's like, yeah. Oh, Tom. I know Tom from down the road.
It's Pat.
Yeah,
That is
Pat.
so
It's Pat. You just described my buddy Pat.
That is so true. We're not lying here. This is
No.
absolutely true.
Metal detectors, whatever you need, we got the guys.
Yeah.
Joe has the guys.
No, if I had a physical Rolodex, that would be tight. If I had just all of them listed out, I've got
That's
I've got a
awesome.
thick book.
You got to go back to old school with that.
I wish, no, but then people would steal my Rolodex.
So Key City Contractors. So what is it that you guys do? Are you guys helping renovate? Are you doing small things, big things? What is your main goal with that?
I am entirely focused out of the like residential market on that. Obviously, like if you guys have somebody that needs like a kitchen or something, I'll give you the subcontractors that I would use. But primarily it's for Key City property management clientele.
Yep.
Right. Is the entire reason of starting Key City property management was to control the ability to sell the deal. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing deal analysis, of course, like taxes are important, insurance is important, making sure the tenancy is important, right? Making sure you're getting the right rents, but also property management in itself could just make or break a deal, right? And if you're selling something and you're saying, yeah, you're going to get 8% ROI, and then you put in a terrible property manager and it gets 3%,
Right.
then you're obviously accountable, right, for having transpired in that deal. So that was to get rid of that gray area for our clients. And then for contractors, it's the exact same thing. It's like there's statewide, I hope I don't get in too much trouble, it's 25 to 30% contractor fee on
Right.
all things. So for our clients, since we're already profiting off of them through property management, I'm proud to say that we make money. That's how business works. we cut our contractor fee to 5% for all of our clients. So if you're signed up with us, we make it as affordable as possible to make sure that, like, I'll give an example. We had a bunch of units on North Market Street. The client bought them for, let's just call it $86,000 a door, and they were renting for $1,000. We threw $42,000 into each unit, and they went up to $2,100 to $2,400 a unit.
Wow.
So in that math, you go, okay, so for $42,000, we essentially got another unit, which in the city of Frederick is impossible.
Right.
You're always paying no less than $130 right now for something that's going to make $1,250, $1,300. So it's been very advantageous for our clients, and that's why they stick around.
And that probably explains why there's a whole bunch of multi-units that will sit on the market for the longest time ever, because either they don't have their ducks in a row as far as what their rental, how much they're getting in rent, or maybe they have people that are on the hook for way below market average. You're saying your ability to kind of have a hand in a little bit of everything is just empowering you to be able to actually make deals happen.
That is super important aspect of it, but then it's also with like a lack of management, right? You're going to sell a 4-unit, right? And that current property manager that they have in place is like, hey, we didn't keep efficient records. We didn't keep renovation records. We didn't keep anything.
Or we didn't renovate.
Or we didn't renovate. Or we didn't do it. And it's like their whole goal now as the selling agent is to sell you on the idea of like, hey, if you do X, you can gain this. If you do this, you can gain this. And they're selling you a dream instead of an actual asset.
Yeah.
Which I have always taken issue with, which is why we do what we do. And it just takes that guesswork out. If you have a good manager on site, then when you're going to sell your asset at the end of the day and you're performing a 1031, whatever, you want to have accurate records to give the buyer and be like, look, we're not fishing on anything. What we want, the number that we put is the number that we put, and here's the reason why.
Right.
So
Wow, that makes sense.
it really does.
That makes total sense.
I like that it makes sense.
Yeah. So many people go out there blinded and wanting to buy an investment, right? They don't have any of the backup that you offer, right? And they make mistakes, and along the way they end up frying because they don't know what they're doing.
And I mean, and again, like there's deals that maybe you guys would perform where it's like, oh, it's a duplex, so we don't have as heavy of a hand in duplexes or triplexes, but if you come to us, we can run the numbers and be like, this is where it's going to perform at, which is extremely critical to have, because you could just, how do you do that? You just fall into like the dream aspect that we were talking about earlier, where it's like, oh, it could do this. It could be performing at this. And it's like, you never want to buy a dream from somebody else, because if it was a dream, they would have done it. Yeah.
So Joe, let's say you're somebody's watching this, right? And let's say they're a new or aspiring to be investor. They're young. Let's say that they've been saving, that they have, let's say they're 20% down or whatever that they need. Okay. And what are some things that you would tell them to consider for their very first investment property? What is the main few things to look out for?
That's a great question. A lot of people fell into this, the Instagram reels, Facebook reels, where it's like cash flow, baby.
Yep.
We want cash flow, right? And that is very important when you get to a deal of the size of, triplex, quads, 10 plus units. Cash flow is king, right? Because you're always trying to replace something. You're always trying to fix something, grow and renovate the units. But for a starting investor, right, building equity is extremely critical, because then you can take the equity that you're acquiring from, a buildup of a portfolio, and then you can leverage that against a new acquisition.
Gotcha.
Right. So I would say don't look for, the bells and whistles where it's like, oh, it could make me equity in the building, pay my mortgage, and then give me $1,200 a month. That sounds great, but again, that comes with hiccups, which can quickly deter you out of, expanding. Right. And a couple examples are like in the city of Hagerstown, right? Just a couple inspections from them can set you back like 3 months, right? And then right there, if you're a first-time investor, there goes $6,400 or whatever you were going to do out of your potential rent roll, out of, you're just letting the city pause you. So critically, what a first-time investor should be looking at is like a third-party market, right? Where it's, just a town 25, 30 minutes outside of a nice city, nice township. Just something that would be very easy to rent, very easy to maintain. It's not like you're fishing for like the highest bid contractors. You can get some local people. You don't need a property manager if you just have one unit. Don't kill me. But it gets to a point where I would rather see someone succeed than try to pay me. Right. And then once you have 3, 4, 5 units, come talk to me. Then we start growing. Right. Because I'm all about making sure that the deal works. And if I can't help you, there's no point in having me. And that's really hypercritical, is making sure that you select your first deal very accurately to equity, not cash flow.
Gotcha.
Like that's my main.
So buying it right.
Buying it right, like, and it's such a stupid saying.
Yeah.
Like it should be common sense, but again, people have been sold this idea of like, if you're not cash flowing on all your deals, then what are you doing? It's like, if you make, and cash flow, I say that's people saying, oh, 500 plus a month. If you're making 150 and someone's paying your mortgage, it's a pretty good deal.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So you're into the house hack idea specifically for newer investors.
Yeah. I mean, I think that house hacking is extremely important. The one thing is, if you are going to house hack, get a property manager.
Right.
If you're going to buy a triplex, buy a quad unit, you do not want your neighbors knowing that you're the landlord.
Right, right.
Because then it's just constant knocks at the door. It's constant like, hey, I've been good to you. I cut the lawn. I took out the trash. Like, give me a cut here. Give me a cut there. And it's like, we're all human, right? So we're very inclined to have empathy or see like a equal trade of labor for resources, but don't do that.
Yeah.
It'll quickly sidetrack you. But it is a brilliant thing that our economy has, which is house hacking.
Yeah. So house hacking, for those of you who don't know, obviously, is if you find, let's say, either a duplex or a triplex or even more, it doesn't matter, but you're essentially living in one of the units while the others in the dwelling are paying for your mortgage, and you'll probably be making some cash flow as long as everything's done correctly. But that is a huge way for people that are interested in getting into investing can do that. You know, typically you see a lot of like either single guys or, you know, whatever, getting into that.
I've got a good story. One of my buddies bought a triplex. It was a triplex, you know, unit. And he decided, okay, I can get more money for the end of row units, right? So I'll live in the center one, right? But he's such a perfectionist that he would hear them, you know, up at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, making noise. And he'd be like, what's going on in my house? Like, what's happening in my other side of the house? And it ended up to the point where he was like, I just can't live there. Because, again, tenants are going to do what they're going to do. As long as they're not destroying your property, it's their domicile.
Yeah.
Right? They can do whatever they want. They can play video games loud, do blah, blah, blah. But if you are a perfectionist, it makes house hacking really difficult because you're always scared that something's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
And those were at price points, like, again, those were $2,600 a unit that he was renting out. So it's like,
at that point in time, just let they're
let
allowed to
them
do what they want.
They're spending, you know, 30 grand, 40 grand a year to live there. Let them do what they got to do.
Yeah.
That's me.
Thing. Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist.
Hey, but you have an investment property down in Florida.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess you're not living there, so you're not hearing them.
I just separated myself.
You're not
from
hearing.
It's business. They're in there. We're having someone else pay our mortgage.
Yeah.
But our neighbor called us the other day and said, Lisa, I don't know if this is my business, but there's a lot of noise coming out of your apartment.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what's happening.
They were partying.
Yeah.
Oh.
So real quick, we're coming up here on the last couple minutes, but under a minute, can you tell us what if we want to do business with you and we're a listener here and we have some investment properties that we want to get managed by you? What does the start of that process look like? What do we do?
Really, really easy. You go on our website, www.keycitymgmt.com, and it's very easy to find. Go on there. You can fill out a new owner link, or you can just call us, press option number 2, and that'll go directly to my cell phone.
Awesome.
Pretty streamlined.
That's pretty good. That's
now
pretty good.
I know how to get a hold of you.
And so what do
Joe.
you charge? What do you charge? That's the big question.
Yeah. So we never change. We are 8% per month, right? So monthly gross, 8% of that. We take a $495 leasing fee. So instead of, no matter the price, right? I don't like the whole float rate, anything like that. I just like to keep it simple. It's really easy to lease out properties in the spring, summer, beginning of fall. It doesn't take $3,000 of my effort to lease out a property, right? So we prefer to keep it at $495, and then we have our administrative fees for, if we have to go to court or anything like that. I'm happy to say it's been 4 months since I've had to go to eviction court.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, so
And that was my client actually the last time.
that was the last one, so I fixed it.
We're going to be wrapping it up here, but we really appreciate Joe dropping on here, and we're going to have him back here in the future because we just love having Joe on. But
yeah, we will have him on again.
we're definitely going to do that again. But thanks for tuning in, and next week we plan on having on Mark Springerth from Springerth Home Inspection Services. He's one of the gems of the area, and so we're super excited to have him. But until then, we hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
And
See
go
ya.
get some of that.